Looking for a fast-charging, ultra-responsive stylus for your iPad? Meet the 2X Fast Charge Active Stylus Pen, designed for 2018 to 2025 Apple iPads. Take your creativity and productivity to the next level. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
Donald Trump says Zelensky isn't grateful and took U.S. money like candy from a baby to fund war with Russia. President Donald Trump says Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky isn't grateful and took U.S. money like taking candy from a baby to fund the war with Russia. It comes as top diplomats from the U.S., including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, will meet the Ukrainian delegation for talks on ending the war in Saudi Arabia in a few days. In an interview with Fox News, Trump called Zelensky ungrateful and said that while he is a smart and tough leader, taking money out of the U.S. was like taking candy from a baby. Ukrainian President Zelensky will not be meeting with U.S. representatives in Saudi Arabia next week for peace talks, as both sides try to build back their damaged relationship. The talks set to take place in Jeddah will see his team meet with Americans while the president returns to Kyiv after meeting the Crown Prince. In a post he said, "Next week, on Monday, my trip to Saudi Arabia is planned to meet with the Crown Prince. After that, my team will stay in Saudi Arabia to work with American partners. Ukraine is most interested in peace. As we conveyed to President Trump, Ukraine is working and will continue working exclusively in a constructive manner to reach a quick and stable peace." On Friday, Trump accused Vlad's forces of pounding the cities and said he was strongly considering a tough new regime of sanctions and tariffs. Trump wrote on Truth Social, "Based on the fact that Russia is absolutely pounding Ukraine on the battlefield right now, I am strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions, and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached. To Russia and Ukraine, get to the table right now before it is too late. Thank you." His blasting post on is his most direct attack on the Russians since he steered his new administration into the role of peacemaker. Trump's past comments, including labeling the Ukrainian leader a dictator, fueled speculation that he was siding with Moscow, and he has previously cast doubt on continued U.S. support for Ukraine. But the post marked a decisive pivot, suggesting Trump was willing to exert economic pressure on Russia to ensure long-term peace. Russia has been blitzing Ukraine with massive overnight strikes, targeting civilian infrastructure and residential buildings. On Thursday last night, NATO was forced to scramble fighter jets after Moscow launched a massive missile drone strike on Ukrainian gas facilities. The overnight missile blitz came after Ukrainians were left raging after Trump axed sharing intelligence, leaving Kyiv's troops fighting blind. The NATO fighter planes were on alert to shoot down any Russian missiles entering Polish airspace, as tensions continue to spiral between Europe, Russia, and the U.S. Zelensky had proposed an aerial truce with Moscow following the overnight attack, and having met with EU leaders at the summit. In a social media post, Zelensky called for silence in the skies, a ban on the use of missiles, long-range drones and bombs, and also silence at sea, a real guarantee of normal navigation. But more attacks were launched a day later, with at least 25 people killed from Friday's overnight blitz. More than 40 people were wounded, including 6 children, in the Donetsk region, as both Russians and Ukrainians marked International Women's Day on Saturday. President Zelensky has accused Vladimir Putin of using vile and inhumane tactics, intentionally targeting emergency services who arrived at the scene of the first strike with a second missile. The shocking White House bust-up between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky plunged global politics into a whirlwind of a week. Friday, February 28, Trump and Zelensky's showdown. The Oval Office bust-up between Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Volodymyr Zelensky will go down in history. Tensions exploded inside the White House as Trump yelled at Zelensky, accusing him of gambling with World War III and calling him ungrateful. The meeting, meant to finalize a critical minerals deal, descended into chaos at one point, with all 3 men seen leaning forward, pointing fingers, and throwing their arms around in fury. The fallout sent shockwaves through Washington, And Trump's ultimatum, "You either make a deal or we are out," threw U.S. support for Ukraine into doubt, with several meetings to follow in the week ahead to attempt to repair the fallout. Saturday, March 1, Starmer supports Zelensky. Zelensky jetted to London for talks with Sir Keir Starmer and Europe. As they held talks, which would have included the Oval Office showdown, Starmer comforted Zelensky in saying that he has full backing across the United Kingdom. He then later announced £2.6 billion in loans to support the war-torn nation. By the evening, Starmer was in constructive calls with Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron. He said that Ukraine's allies were at a turning point in the conflict. Sunday, March 2, Europe rallies around Ukraine. A crucial security summit at Lancaster House was hosted by Starmer and saw dozens of nations attend to discuss U.S.-Europe relations and the ongoing Ukrainian conflict. The meeting, attended by French President Emmanuel Macron, Canadian PM Justin Trudeau, and European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen, saw a major push for a new military alliance to guarantee Ukraine's future. Afterwards, Starmer announced that a coalition of the willing would come together and devise a peace plan to end the bloody war. The Prime Minister warned that Europe had to step up and do the heavy lifting, while still scrambling for America's strong backing. Unveiling his battle plan for the war-torn country, the PM told a press conference, "This is not a moment for more talk. It's time to act, time to step up and lead, and to unite around a new plan for a just and enduring peace." He unveiled a £1.6 billion finance deal to help Ukraine buy more than 5,000 missiles, and vowed to keep the weapons flowing while ramping up economic pressure on Russia. Monday, March 3, Trump lashes out at Zelensky again. The start of the week saw Trump continue to pile pressure on Zelensky as his allegiance with Europe appeared to dwindle further away. In a brutal truth social put down, Trump blasted Zelensky as a guy who doesn't want there to be peace. The Republican was responding to a quote from the Ukrainian leader in which he said an end to the conflict with Russia is still very, very far away. Hours after the social media attack, Trump then paused all U.S. military aid to Ukraine for the foreseeable future. The shock freeze will continue until Zelensky's government shows a commitment to peace negotiations, a senior Trump administration official told Fox News. Tuesday, March 4, Zelensky regrets Trump fallout. Zelensky came out and public said he is ready to work under Donald Trump and regrets his brutal Oval Office row with the president. Zelensky went on to share his own vision for peace that would involve bringing all parties to the table and included a ban on missiles and drones and releasing POWs. He said in the Bombshell X post that none of us wants an endless war, and that Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Wednesday, March 5, Trump reveals olive branch to Congress. As much of Europe woke up on Wednesday, Donald Trump's first historic address to Congress added another twist to the chaotic week. In a fiery 100-minute speech, Trump vowed to end the war in Ukraine as he revealed he had received a letter from Zelensky and that Vladimir Putin was ready for peace. The commander-in-chief said the letter spoke about negotiations taking place as soon as possible. The important U.S.-Ukraine minerals deal was also ready to be signed, Trump said per Zelensky's words. Thursday, March 6, Europe gathers for key defense summit. A key emergency summit was held in Brussels on Thursday with European leaders to discuss the Ukraine war. Dozens of prime ministers and presidents attended from Ukraine's Zelensky to France's Macron. Images showed how the EU's 27 leaders all held a working lunch with Zelensky before having separate press conferences outside. Zelensky said he discussed strengthening his country's defense, as well as negotiations for Kyiv's EU accession in the summit. Friday, March 7, Trump turns on Putin. Trump blasted Putin in a fierce condemnation of Russia's war in Ukraine, demanding both sides get to the table right now. The U.S. president issued a fiery rebuke of the Russians as they once again launched a huge blitz on Ukrainian civilians overnight. In the latest unpredictable move from the Republican, he wrote, Based on the fact that Russia is absolutely pounding Ukraine on the battlefield right now, I am strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions, and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached. To Russia and Ukraine, get to the table right now before it is too late. Thank you. The Post has left the world stunned, given Trump's history of warm rhetoric toward Mad Vlad and his recent attacks on Zelensky's leadership.